Hey everybody, I'm John and this is Blind Whiskey Reviews. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews, the most honest reviews on YouTube. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you know every time I'm putting out a new review. Today we're reviewing the Wolfburn Single Malt Scotch Whisky. This is their Aurora Sherry Oak expression. And before we start the review, I real quickly just wanted to go and talk about something. I got a comment the other day that I need to be a little bit more clear about how my reviews are put together, and I definitely agree with that. I understand if this is your first time watching me and you haven't seen my channel before, that it may not make a ton of sense what I'm doing. So I'm doing all my reviews blind, and the way that I put the videos together, the review portion is shot first, and then I come back and shoot this. So I'm going to figure out a way of saying that in each of these reviews that makes it a little bit more clear with what I'm doing, but for the time being, we're going to go with something like this, which will be, without further ado, let's get to the review, and let's hop back in time. All right, everybody, let's get into the whiskey. Now, right off the bat, just sitting on the table, I'll tell you, this is definitely not bourbon, rye, rum. So we've got either Scotch or Irish whiskey here. Super, super light in color, like a very light straw color. There's that. So I'm already getting nervous. Getting the nose here. A lot of like very delicate notes in there. Light fruits. A very light apple or a wine-like character, like a white grape, like a, I don't know, like Chardonnay or something like that type character I smell in there. I'm not sure what it is, but there's almost like a, it's not a super in your face, but there's almost like a savory note in there, kind of like a meaty, I don't want to say barbecue because it doesn't smell smoky per se, but like a salty meat. I don't know. Is that weird? Anyways, enough trying to get some stuff out of the nose here. Let's get on to the taste. Cheers. Very light in the mouth. Very mild burn. I'm guessing this is low proof. After a couple more tastes, we'll take a guess at it, but I mean, we're close to 40, maybe 43% tops. There's citrus on the nose now. You know, I'm not getting a ton off of it. There's a lot more on the nose than I'm getting on the palate. There's kind of just a hint of everything I mentioned on the nose, but it's kind of muddled. I'm getting another like bigger taste here. Yeah, I really had to take a bigger drink, leave it on the tongue longer, move it around. Yeah, there's some of those light, delicate fruits, not quite at the front of your palate, more towards the middle. You're getting like the apple, that kind of winey grape character. You're left with a little bit of flavor in your mouth, not a ton. A touch of bitterness, maybe a little bit of that citrus. I'm trying to find where that like meaty, savory character is on the palate, and I'm not really tasting a ton of it. There's maybe a hint of vanilla on the nose. Yeah, I'm picking up the vanilla on the palate now. Still super, super light. I'm going to say we're in that 80 to 85 proof-ish range. Tough to pick up on the flavors in a bit of it. They're a bit muddled on the palate. It's definitely a touch different than you're getting on the nose. We'll put a drop of water in just to see. I don't really want to put much. Only because it's so light to begin with. I can't imagine it's going to do anything good for this whiskey, but we will give it a shot for the purposes of the review. I mean, if anything, it brought that like meaty, salty, savory note more forward. Let's see if maybe it picks it up on the palate a little bit. I mean, maybe just the slightest hint of that on the tongue. For me, this isn't bad. It's just so light and like nothing really shines in it. You know, it just kind of, you have a few of these different flavors, not super complex, very, very, very watered down and mild and light. And there's flavors there. They're just so small and light and delicate. And I don't know if it's just a bourbon drinker's perspective on Scotch or Irish whiskey or whatever this is. Like, maybe I'm guessing it's Scotch, but I'm used to big and bold flavors, and it's tough for me to go to something like this that's just so light and delicate, and the flavors just don't. You really got to dig for these flavors. So just a different experience for me. I'm going to give it a rating, and as always, I give you the caveat with whiskeys like this that I am no expert. I have not drank a lot of this stuff, so take my rating with a grain of salt. This one doesn't really do it for me. I'm looking for a little bit more bite, a little bit more flavor, and a little bit more complexity. So I'm going to say that this, I don't think it's bad. I think it's drinkable. I have no problem drinking more of this. It's just, I wouldn't go looking for it. I wouldn't want to necessarily buy another bottle for myself. So I'm going to say it's 72. It's decent. It's good. And, you know, it's for me, just not what I'm looking for personally. But in terms of the flavors and the complexity and all those things I described, I think that just brings it a little bit down on the scale for me. So we'll stay at 72. We're sticking with our 80 to 85 proof, very low, very light, very watered down. So let's see what it is. It is Wolfburn Single Malt Scotch Whisky. This says Sherry Oak, but let's go grab that bottle and figure out more about this whiskey. All right, everybody, we just finished our review of the Wolfburn Single Malt Scotch Whisky. This is the Sherry Oak Aurora expression. On the bottle, it says we've got natural color and we've got non-chill filtered. So those are two good things. This is distilled, matured, and bottled in the, God, you're going to make me mess up these names, in the Thurso, Caithness, Scotland. I'm sure I totally butchered that. On the back, we've got some tasting notes, which don't really match with what I picked up on it for some of it. So on the nose, you'll sense sherry sweetness, accompanied by dried fruits and malt. I'm not super keen on the sherry stuff as I haven't had a lot of Scotch, so I'm sure that's something I'll develop over a little bit of time. On the palate, there's a warmth imparted from the sherry oak, augmented by autumn fruits, nutty flavors with a hint of spice in the background. I definitely got the fruitiness, nuttiness maybe I could say was there. Some of this other stuff I'm not so sure about. On the bottom, this kind of confuses me. It says matured in ex-bourbon oak cask for 3 years, but it doesn't mention the sherry casks. So I don't know how that works out. I don't know if it's a blend of sherry and bourbon casks or how they do the blending with this stuff. But anyways, I thought it was decent. It's not a bad dram. I did, like I said in the review, think that it tasted pretty watered down. I don't think I mentioned that this is 46% alcohol by volume, which would make it 92 proof. And I definitely felt like it drank even lower than that. It just came across so light and watered down that I really was having a hard time picking up on the flavors that were there. I got some of them, and they just really came across muddled and young. And I mean, you can kind of tell that based on this, says it was an ex-bourbon oak cast for 3 years. This is it doesn't have a lot of age on it. And I definitely felt like that was the case when I was drinking it. Not a bad dram by, like I said, by any sense of the imagination, but it's just not developed. I don't know why, even at 92 proof is a decent proof. I like a lot of whiskeys made at that proof range, but for some reason the flavors just came across so light, and I don't know why. So for value on this one, value's gonna be a little tough one. I looked this up because I definitely did not pay your normal retail for this. I saw it getting blown out for a pretty reasonable price on a website, and I picked it up there, and I paid under $40 for it. I want to say it was like 38 bucks or something like that. So it's a pretty decent price for what I've seen this go for. Right before this video, I looked it up on one of the big box stores, and it's going for $68. At that price range, I would never buy this whiskey. That's just too much money. It doesn't have the flavors that I'm looking for, and I have no problem paying what I paid for it, but paying almost double that, out of the question. I would never pay that. It's just, to me, it's not worth it. It's not that great of a whiskey to be worth close to $70. Anyways, I thought it was decent. I'd love to hear your opinion on the Wolfburn products and what you think of the different expressions that they have. At this point, I don't know that I would be going back, just because what I'm tasting here isn't for me, but maybe there's other expressions that are different, that are better, or something that's more, like I mentioned in the review. I don't know if this is just coming from a bourbon drinker's perspective, but I'm used to like a narrow range of big, bold flavors. I know Scotch has a much wider variety of flavors there, but for me on what I've drank, and I have certainly not drank any higher end Scotches by any stretch, but I'm getting a lot of light flavors and delicateness and things like that. And I'm not sure if that's how Scotch is, or if that's just the ones that have come up in my reviews so far. So I'm really looking forward to getting some Scotches in with some age on them, with some different aging on them, types on them, different casks and things like that. I'm really kind of scared and or excited about doing some peated whiskeys, because I felt a feeling those would be a lot more bold and flavorful, and kind of put the kind of a love or a hate 'em type of whiskey. So anyways, I'm rambling, but let me know what you think about Wolfburn in the comments down below. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at blind_reviews. And until the next time, cheers.